Is a recession inevitable in 2023? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's ask the question, is a recession inevitable in 2023? Now we have an article here highlighting the fact that Deutsche Bank is predicting a recession for Australia in 2023. Now what is a recession? Let me bring up the definition here for you all. A period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. Now, the last recession we had, and let me bring up this GDP chart here to show you, was because of the lockdowns, pretty much. It was a COVID recession. You can see it there, 2 quarters fall. Now, there was concern we might hit a double-dip recession, but we have stayed out of that. And if they're predicting another recession in 2023, it's probably going to be a real recession because the one we had during the lockdowns, well, in some ways one would argue that was artificial. And they just pumped the economy full of stimulus and government money. You know, so many companies got JobKeeper. So many employees were being supported by JobKeeper. It's a little concerning when you look at the figures. I'm trying to find that if I have it here. We've got government coming to the rescue. So you've got all of this intervention in the housing market. Home builder, they juiced up housing. My concern is that's the default response with both sides of politics here in Australia. Rudd did it, and the Liberals and Nationals have done it too again. So if we see a recession, is that good news or bad news for housing prices, everyone? You know, people are thinking, recession, housing is going to tank because people will lose their jobs and not be able to make repayments. Or it could be recession, could be good news for housing because the government will juice up the sector. I'm just saying. What do you reckon, guys? Would you be at all shocked if we had Home Builder Mark IV or whatever, if there was a recession next year? What's the precedent? Government intervention into housing. It's the piñata they use to stimulate the economy. I think we can all agree upon that now. So, a German investment bank has issued a grim prediction for Australia's 2023 economy, warning of a dire 12 months ahead for the country. Deutsche Bank has forecast Australia to enter recession in 2023 due to a further slowdown of the economy and a spike in unemployment. The bank's definition of a recession, however, differs from the traditional 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. Okay. Deutsche Bank has based its forecast on its predicted unemployment rate. We're expecting Australia's unemployment rate to end 2023 at 4.5%. That is 1 percentage point higher than the current unemployment rate of 3.5%. Deutsche Bank chief economist Phil O'Donoghue said, according to the ABC. Modelling conducted by the RBA has forecast a much lower figure, with 3.7% unemployment expected for the end of next year. Now, I might bring up the Roy Morgan unemployment rate. Hang on. It's generally about half, guys, if you want. They're using different methodologies for determining unemployment. It's a bit harder to find now. They've changed where they're putting it. Roy Morgan unemployment. Yeah, I can't find it at the moment, but we can see here, this was in August. There you go, they've got 8.5, where ABS had 3.5. So you can see roughly double it, maybe a little bit more. I tend to lean more towards the Roy Morgan measurement of unemployment, but that doesn't really matter because all government policy is going to be based on the ABS. Now, I know there's the mega chads, the giga chads that only work 1 hour during the survey period and are technically considered employed. And that should be the aspiration for all of us. We all want to achieve that level. But it's only about 14,000 people can pull that off in Australia, guys. I wonder if they count all the civil servants that only work 1 hour a week, but you don't even have to turn up to the office anymore. Mr. O'Donoghue stood by the bank's prediction and argued the GDP measurement was unhelpful for Australia. Okay. If our forecast is realised, that will qualify as a recession on our definition, even if, as our forecast assumes, GDP avoids 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, he said. Well, since the GFC, if we have a look here, our GDP has been below trend. Now, this is the GDP per capita growth, per person growth. Now, you can see the black line there. That's the trend line. And look at how many of those measures are below the trend from the GFC. Majority of them were below the trend. One could make the argument that our economy has been depressed. It's still been growing, but it hasn't been growing at the similar rate in the past. And it's artificially, juiced up by population growth, which doesn't necessarily mean things are getting better for everyone. So we just have to keep that in mind, particularly with immigration to go up again. We have long considered the technical recession definition singularly unhelpful for Australia. From a welfare perspective, a 1 percentage point rise in unemployment rate within a year is a far more useful description. Unemployment rose for the first time in 10 months in August. There were, however, more Australians than ever working more than one job. The number of multiple job holders reached a record high of 900,000 people in the June quarter of 2022, an increase of 4.3% according to the ABS. Now, some people will go, oh no, that's so horrible, people having to work 2 jobs. I think that's fantastic. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, particularly if tough times are coming ahead. Don't give a shit what other people think. Okay, don't fall for any of that rubbish. You need to have multiple income streams. Here's the thing. If you're working in a job and times get tough, particularly in the bigger corporations, they're not going to give a crap about you. You're just a cog in the machine. Don't believe any of the rhetoric that they're saying your family and all of that stuff. It's all bullshit. Okay, it really is. It's a business transaction. Treat it like that. Because if it gets tough, they're going to let you go. They're going to say, sorry, we appreciate you, all this stuff. And they may do, but they've got to make tough decisions. And that's what you have to do in business. You've got to make some tough decisions. That's probably what Superdraft didn't do. They didn't make tough decisions. They kept too many people on. They didn't really cut back to the bone. What happens now? More people suffer if you keep going on insolvent. But anyway, back to this. ABS Head of Labour Statistics, Lauren Ford, said this figure represented 6.5% of all officially employed people. This is the highest rate since the quarterly series commenced in 1994 and about 0.5 percentage points above its pre-pandemic level, she said. Along with the 4.3% increase in the number of multiple job holders, the number of jobs worked as secondary jobs also increased by 5.5% and passed 1 million for the first time. The official unemployment rate remains the lowest since August 74, when it was 2.7%, and the ABS released the figures on a quarterly basis instead of each month. So there you go, everyone. Now, what's more... Well, let's have a talk about this, okay? Let's talk about this. They're painting the fact that people have multiple jobs as, well, not really as negative. I get the feeling they're painting it as negative. Maybe that's just what I expect from the news. It should be if people are working multiple jobs because they choose to or because they have to. Maybe we've got 6% of Australians are just realizing times are going to get tough, so are banking up money. Or maybe they're having to do it to pay their mortgages as interest rates start creeping up. Very least, it's good. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You need to spread out. You never know what could go wrong. You never know what can get you through tough times. Because, even if we're not having a technical recession, next year may not be as good as some are hoping. But then again, it may be enough to spring the government into throwing more money at different sectors of the economy, and you'll have a 2-speed economy. You'll have people who are doing fantastic, who are going nuts, who are flat out, and others who are just struggling. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Check out my other channel, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International, for other topics I discuss. And if you're a fan and want to support the channel, you can financially on YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Bye for now.